Nick loved a girl I was pretending to be. Cool girl.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the sexiest female foes to grace the big screen.
You make it so easy, don't you? Always waiting for some bad man to save you.
Number 30, Anck-su-namun, The Mummy and the Mummy Returns. Before the invention of modern makeup or even electricity, Anck-su-namun was turning heads in ancient Egypt. In the 13th century BCE, Anck-su-namun was the mistress of an older pharaoh by the name of Seti I, until she fell for the high priest Imhotep.
But for their love, they were willing to risk life itself.
Although Egyptian law forbade Imhotep from such a relationship, Anck-su-namun's beauty was such that he put his life on the line to see her. And when it seemed as if Seti I might be catching on to their love affair, the pair plotted to kill their leader to remain together. Obviously, this plan didn't work out quite as planned, but when it comes to a woman like Anck-su-namun, it's not hard to see why Imhotep was willing to risk it all. Number 29, Meredith Blake, The Parent Trap. Some may argue that Meredith Blake is not a villain at all. After all, it's not a crime to be young and beautiful.
Being young and beautiful is not a crime, you know. And for your 411, I adore your father.
Still, there's no denying that Meredith is the primary antagonist of The Parent Trap. She may not initially know that Hallie is actually Annie, but she knows something is up and firmly stands her ground as Nick's fiancé at every opportunity.
The first change I make is to send that two-faced little brat off to boarding school in Timbuktu.
Oof, ice woman.
Proud of it, babe.
Nick naturally remains clueless for much of the film, equally distracted by both his love for his daughter and Meredith's intrinsic charm. But who could blame him? With perfectly styled hair and a flawless fashion sense that still holds up decades after the film's release, Meredith is simply irresistible. Number 28, Rose Armitage, Get Out. Jordan Peele's feature film debut introduced the world to the Armitages, a white family who appropriated blackness in a horrifyingly literal manner.
And who knows? Maybe one day you'll enjoy being members of the family.
Rose was the key to the plot's success, luring men and women alike to the secluded Armitage homestead so that they could be hypnotized and manipulated by her devilish family. In order for this to work, Rose herself had to be alluring enough to trick her would-be friends and lovers into going along with her to her annual road trip back home. Played by Allison Williams, the Armitage's daughter perfectly performs the role of girl next door, an unassuming and ostensibly socially conscious young woman who anyone would believe themselves lucky to date.
They are not racist.
Right.
I would have told you. I wouldn't be bringing you home to them. Think about that for like 2 seconds.
Number 27, Sarah Sanderson, Hocus Pocus. In spite of their wicked behavior, the Sanderson sisters are a surprisingly lovable trio, with their iconic costumes and flamboyant personalities making them a beloved part of the Halloween season. When it comes to looks, however, there's no contest for which of these witches we'd rather be kidnapped by. The instantly magnetic and adorably quirky Sarah is inarguably the hottest of the Sandersons, lacking her sister's cartoonish smiles and attracting the attention of mortal men centuries after her birth. The dreamy quality with which actress Sarah Jessica Parker performs Come Little Children only heightens the character's innate desirability and makes her a total shoo-in for this list.
I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment.
Number 26, Bonnie Parker, Bonnie and Clyde. When your protagonists are hardened criminals known for stealing from funeral homes and shooting down cops, casting is key to maintaining your audience's trust and attention. In the case of Bonnie and Clyde, there couldn't have been two actors more perfect for the job than Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway.
What's it like?
What you mean, prison?
No. Armed robbery.
The pair's natural charisma and effortless chemistry made for a compelling picture, even if it did romanticize its villainous leads in the process. Bonnie in particular is sexy and stylish, with an emotional depth that could have any viewer second-guessing their alliance and wishing she didn't meet such a brutal demise.
I don't have no mama. No family either.
Hey, I'm your family.
Number 25, Queen Akasha, Queen of the Damned. An adaptation of Anne Rice's novel of the same name, Queen of the Damned does for women what Interview with the Vampire did for men. That is, allow them to play out the roles of some of the sexiest and most sinful vampires ever written.
Why won't you die?
Although Lestat de Liancourt and Armand are still around, Queen Akasha is the true star of this show, in spite of her not having the screen time she deserves. Played by the late R&B princess Aaliyah, Akasha is scantily clad in both clothes and morals, with a grandiose ambition to rule the world.
I know that you crave to have the world at your feet, and I've come to give it to you.
Number 24, Elsa Schneider, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This Austrian art historian should have been the woman of Indy's dreams.
Will you permit me?
I usually don't.
I usually don't either.
In that case, I permit you.
It would make me very happy.
But I'm already sad. By tomorrow, it will have faded.
Tomorrow I'll steal you.
I hate to interrupt.
She's classically pretty, smart as a whip, and quickly proves herself to be down for an adventure. Unfortunately, she also happens to be sympathetic to the Third Reich, and her desired use for the Holy Grail is to ensure the longevity of their infamous leader. It's a significant drawback to the otherwise tantalizing femme fatale, and one that the film's protagonist unsurprisingly finds impossible to reconcile. Nonetheless, we admire Alison Dootie's dazzling performance, and still find it difficult not to be charmed by Elsa's con in the scenes leading up to her sobering villain reveal.
That's how Austrians say goodbye.
Number 23, Queen Ravenna, Snow White and the Huntsman. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
It is you, my queen. Yet another kingdom falls to your glory.
While her heart may not be as pure as Snow White's, Queen Ravenna certainly gives the young princess a run for her money in the looks department. Actress Charlize Theron plays the cold and calculating sorceress with a depth that transforms her into a complex human being. Though her actions remain unsympathetic, there's a twisted logic to her actions, inspired by the Queen's deep-seated fears and insecurities.
Do you remember when we were children begging for scraps, like those wretches?
Yes, sister.
Am I not kinder?
2 years after the release of this action-packed Grimm Brothers adaptation, Disney put their own spin on an infamous fairy tale villainess with Maleficent. Angelina Jolie's performance is as captivating as it is emotional, with prosthetics enhancing the actress's already sharp facial features. Number 22, Tiffany Valentine, the Child's Play franchise. 10 years after the release of Child's Play, creator Don Mancini breathed new life into the franchise with the introduction of Chucky's partner in crime, Tiffany Valentine. The bleach blonde villainess was just what the series needed at the time, providing an emotionally driven foil to Chucky's comedic callousness.
You haven't changed. You'll never change. The hell was I thinking?
Although, like Chucky, the character briefly gets trapped in the body of a doll in Bride and Seed, the franchise smartly realized that Tiffany's sexuality was one of her biggest assets. In a meta-plot, she transfers her soul into actress Jennifer Tilly and regains control of a human body, which coincidentally looks exactly like her old body.
Jennifer Tilly.
It's best not to think about that too hard. Number 21, Poison Ivy, Batman and Robin. She's as pretty as a daisy, but look out, man, she's crazy. Batman and Robin is often criticized for its over-the-top story and visuals and flat leading performance, but Uma Thurman is regularly highlighted as one of the film's few saving graces.
Help! I am Mother Nature, and the time has come for plans to take back the world so rightfully ours.
Turned into Poison Ivy by a mad scientist's botched attempt on her life, Pamela Isley finds that she has gained control over both plants and men. In addition to her homegrown good looks, Ivy now exudes a hypnotizing pollen and has a kiss laced with poison. Even the Dark Knight and his boy Wonder end up turning against each other to vie for the affection of the botanical beauty, though we can't say we blame them.
Why not send Junior home early? I've got some wild oats to sow.
Number 20, Juno Skinner, True Lies. Money may not buy happiness, but it does buy the ability to live well. That is a fact that Juno Skinner has come to terms with, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to feel financially secure.
My condolences to the widow.
This includes smuggling nukes into the US for a terrorist who is as demented as he is wealthy. Sure, she doesn't agree with his warmongering ways, but she does agree with his money. While few would agree with her cynical sense of morality, it's hard not to be taken in by her beauty and affluence.
Well, Mr. Rehnquist, do you see anything you like?
Maybe.
Maybe you could learn to make things work in a nuclear apocalypse. Number 19, Hela, Thor Ragnarok. For all its success, the MCU is not perfect. And one of the most frequently cited criticisms is that its first few phases had a real villain problem. The baddies often seemed paper thin. But Hela is squarely part of the solution rather than the problem.
Darling, you have no idea what's possible.
Cate Blanchett's performance drew favorable comparisons to Disney's greatest magical villains, including Maleficent and Chernabog. She plays the goddess of death and succeeds in making this larger-than-life character feel like flesh and blood.
I'm not a queen or a monster. I'm the goddess of death.
Hela relishes every murder and moment of destruction, and her zeal is intoxicating. Of course, it doesn't hurt that Cate Blanchett is one of her generation's great beauties. Many fans would gladly watch Hela strut down the Bifrost all day, despite a potentially fatal outcome.
Whatever game you're playing, it won't work. You can't defeat me.
Number 18, Catherine Murtoy, Cruel Intentions. In the late 90s, Sarah Michelle Gellar was one of the most beloved and iconic heroes of the small screen.
What shall we toast to?
To my triumph.
Buffy Summers was a badass teenage protagonist of a caliber that few could rival. As such, it was a huge shock to the system when in 1999, she flipped the script and played the villain in this hypersexualized teen drama. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Catherine Murtoy most definitely is not.
God forbid I exude confidence and enjoy sex. Do you think I relish the fact that I have to act like Mary Sunshine 24/7 so I can be considered a lady?
She wields her sex appeal with such confidence and in overtly manipulative ways that it's enough to make anyone weak in the knees. You know that she's got an ulterior motive, most likely a desire to destroy you for her own amusement. But only the strongest of resolves can resist her charms.
So I assume you've come here to make some arrangements.
Number 17, Madison Lee, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. This sequel might not have had quite the same cultural impact as its predecessor, but Madison Lee is reason enough to keep us coming back.
Madison Lee? Natalie Cook?
Played by Demi Moore, who was 40 years old at the time, Lee is an absolute bombshell, and the camera isn't shy about lingering on her jaw-dropping physique. Whether she's walking out of the ocean in a tiny bikini or brandishing a gun in lingerie and a robe, she is an absolute jaw-dropper. Playing the character with a controlled intensity, Moore imbues Lee with an intense physicality. Whatever context or space she finds herself in, she absolutely commands the room. She slays, and we mean that in more ways than one.
The premiere should be a blast.
Number 16, Mystique, the X-Men franchise. Jennifer Lawrence is excellent as Mystique, and certainly easy on the eyes. But in terms of both villainy and raw sex appeal, her predecessor, Rebecca Romijn, has got her beat. The model-turned-actress feels like a version of Mystique who walked right off of a comic book panel. Her legginess and slender but muscular physique verges on the cusp of supernatural.
You know, people like you are the reason I was afraid to go to school as a child.
What makes her such an alluring villain is the way she moves. From her walk to her distinctive combat style, everything is graceful in a way that never fails to convey an implied lethality. Mystique can go from slow and seductive to a lightning-quick assault in the blink of an eye. And by the time you realize what she's done, you're probably already dead. Number 15, Dr. Julia Harris, The Horrible Bosses franchise. This might seem like a silly distinction to make in a list about female villains, but even compared to her competition today, Dr. Julia Harris is crazy.
You're gonna give me that dong, Dale.
My dong?
This film centers around 3 friends who, all being dissatisfied with the treatment they receive at work, come up with a plot to kill each other's bosses. Each of these employers is awful in their own right, but Julia's complex and never-ending harassment strategies are next level.
You just continue to surprise me. You dirty, dirty little man.
The problem is, while the character is absolutely twisted, she's played in both the original and the sequel by sex symbol Jennifer Aniston. So the audience is forced into an awkward predicament of being repulsed by her actions, but nonetheless left drooling over her every sexually charged move.
Nice to have some new, fresh blood in the group.
Appreciate it.
Fresh, cute blood.
Hey.
Number 14, Syl, Species. We've discussed gods and mutants, but this is our first real foray into the realm of the overtly weird. So let's just go ahead and clarify that Syl is hot in her human form. We are every bit as terrified of her alien looks as we should be, and we hope that you are too. Syl is an extraterrestrial human hybrid who's driven solely by her desire to breed with human men and create more of her kind.
Don't go. Please. I want a baby.
What? Excuse me?
Step 1 foot out of line, however, and you are going to die a gruesome death. Syl has many tricks up her sleeve, and yet for all her lethal qualities, it's almost impossible to deny the appeal of this sexually overcharged predator.
Where's a good place to find a man?
Well, there's plenty of guys at the inn around the corner. It's a club. You won't have any trouble meeting somebody there.
Number 13, Ava Lord, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. In this 2014 sequel, Ava Green plays the titular Dame to Kill For. A master manipulator and the archetypal man-eater, she's an absolute knockout who knows all too well the effect that she has on the opposite sex.
I must still mean something to you. You came here, you must still care.
Sure. You called and I came running. You still got that much of a hold on me, maybe you always will, but I got no reason at all to be nice to you.
Many of the villains on our list today bring a combination of sexuality and lethality, but it could be said that in Ava Lord's case, her beauty is her greatest weapon. She's often described as a goddess, and unfortunately, she is not a benevolent one.
Sex always made you stupid, ready to believe anything. You've just made me a very rich woman.
Ava Lord is played by Ava Green, who played a similarly sexy but lethal villain in 300 Rise of an Empire. As Xerxes' naval commander, Artemisia is driven primarily by her love of war, but she seems to find many similarities between combat and sex.
If I kissed you now, Dwight, would you still believe it was love?
Number 12, O-Ren Ishii, Kill Bill Volume 1. Beautiful but Deadly has rarely applied quite as well as it does to O-Ren Ishii. The queen of the Tokyo Underground, O-Ren is one of Bill's Deadly Viper assassination squad.
As your leader, I encourage you from time to time, and always in a respectful manner, to question my logic. If you're unconvinced a particular plan of action I've decided is the wisest, tell me so. But allow me to convince you, and I promise you right here and now, no subject will ever be taboo. Except, of course, the subject that was just under discussion.
And it could be argued that she's one of the more skilled combatants of the group. Played by the always stunning Lucy Liu, this killer with the codename Cottonmouth is among the most graceful and elegant villains on our list today. She doesn't generally use her beauty or sexuality as a weapon, instead relying on her prowess with a blade. Expert swordswoman though she might be, O-Ren ultimately loses her head to the bride. But before her blood hit the snow, she made quite the impression on viewers. Number 11, Gazelle, Kingsman: The Secret Service. Played by the stunning actress, model, and dancer Sofia Boutella, Gazelle is truly a one-of-a-kind villain.
Is he dead?
That tends to happen when you shoot someone in the head.
Her lower legs have been replaced with razor-sharp bladed prosthetics. Artificially enhanced villains are nothing new, but rarely are they allowed to be notable in appearance and considered traditionally good-looking, which is what makes Gazelle such a refreshing character. She is gorgeous, composed, and the very definition of deadly. It's also worth noting that because her weapons of choice are so unique, it makes her very difficult to fight. The average person, or secret agent for that matter, has never trained for battle against someone with blades for feet. Gazelle is truly a villain for the ages.
Understood.
Number 10. Harley Quinn, Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and The Suicide Squad. Okay, so given her extreme popularity, like other breakout villains, Harley has slowly but surely evolved into more of an anti-hero.
My heart scares you and a gun doesn't?
Do it!
But regardless of her recent film and increasingly moral decisions in the comics, Harley Quinn has historically landed closer to villain on the good versus evil paradigm. She has been party to some nasty plots alongside Mr. J. And in Suicide Squad, she is one of the bad guys. She even said so herself.
We're bad guys. It's what we do.
Sex appeal is a big part of Harley Quinn's identity in the movie, both in terms of outfits and how she interacts with men, including guards. Margot Robbie really leans into the character's well-documented craziness, and it all makes her an absolute pleasure to watch.
What?
Number 9. Jill Valentine, Resident Evil Afterlife and Resident Evil Retribution. Jill Valentine arguably isn't the most well-developed or nuanced character on our list today, but with that being said, there's just something incredibly appealing about a character transforming into the dark version of themselves.
You are gonna be in for the fight of your lives.
It's the classic Sandy from Grease move. And really, few such transitions are as overtly sexy as that of evil Jill Valentine in the later installments of this long-running video game franchise. Once a Resistance member and ally to Alice, Jill Valentine falls under the control of Umbrella. And from that point on, the brainwashed version of Jill is all skin-tight outfits, evil smirks, and shoot to kill. She's cruel and utterly without mercy, a true sadist. And like many female video game villains, she is notably easy on the eyes. Number 8. TX, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. Is she Arnie? No, but the villainous Terminator in the third installment of this popular franchise knows how to turn heads in her own right. The filmmakers were clearly going for the blonde bombshell angle when developing this character, and the film doesn't shy away from highlighting TX's killer assets. Whether she's driving a car or getting repeatedly hit in the face by the OG Terminator, TX always has the same confident look on her face. She is unflappable. More than just a pretty face though, actress Kristanna Loken really got in shape for the role, packing on muscle in order to live up to the physicality that one expects from a Terminator. Busty, brawny, and absolutely deadly, the Terminatrix is the whole villainous package. Number 7. The Devil, Bedazzled. The Devil has taken on many forms over the years across various media, but few iterations of the biblical root of all evil have made quite as big an impression as the one we get in Bedazzled.
I think you're hot.
Baby, you have no idea.
English bombshell Elizabeth Hurley plays the Devil, and the outfits she wears are downright torture for every person watching. In exchange for his soul, the Devil offers to give Brendan Fraser's geeky Elliot Richards 7 wishes.
Women aren't really attracted to wealth and power.
They're not?
No, of course not. They couldn't give a fig for all that rubbish. What you need to figure out is what she does want in a man.
All he really wants, however, is to be with his work crush Allison. And so he repeatedly tries to make this a reality, while the devil finds twisted ways to mess it up.
Well, I hate to put a big rush on this, but there is a time limit. Reach contract.
But honestly, considering how drop-dead gorgeous the devil is, we're kind of surprised he can think of anyone but Lucifer herself.
I know, it's fun, isn't it?
Number 6, Emma Frost, X-Men First Class. Back to the X-Men, or is that Triple X? For decades, Emma Frost has been one of the most scantily clad and explicitly sexual characters in all of Marvel Comics.
You're thinking of running, hiding. We'd find you, Henry. There's not a fortress in the world that could keep us out.
And when she made her big screen debut in 2011's X-Men First Class, well, they did the source material proud. She's a supporting villain, but the casting of January Jones ensures that all eyes are on her every time she appears on screen.
Pathetic.
Like her comic book counterpart, this version of Emma Frost is only too happy to use her sexuality as a tool or weapon to reach her goals. Though, considering she's also an incredibly powerful telepath, she needn't actually get physical. Add to that her diamond skin, and Emma Frost is one beauty you do not want to mess with.
You can stop trying to read my mind, sugar. You're never going to get anything from me while I'm like this.
Number 5, Catwoman, Batman Returns.
I am Catwoman. Hear me roar.
Can you say meow? Played by Michelle Pfeiffer, this classic Batman villain became the gold standard by which all sexy supervillains are judged, with the release of this 1992 sequel. Her skin-tight outfit required the actress to use talcum powder to get it on. Suffice it to say, that shiny black number leaves nothing to the imagination.
I just love a big, strong man who's not afraid to show it with someone half his size. Be gentle, it's my first time.
While Pfeiffer's Catwoman could have made this list based on looks alone, it's the performance that really earns her such high marks. Pfeiffer really channels the character's slinky feline sexuality, and the end result is enough to drive a viewer barking or meowing mad. The performance is utterly captivating, but also fierce and commanding. Intelligent, witty, and gorgeous, this Catwoman earns her status as a film icon.
It's chilly in here.
I'll warm you.
Down, Oswald. We need to talk.
Number 4, Santanico Pandemonium, From Dusk Till Dawn. Her name is certainly a mouthful, but for a chance to get close to her, we suspect you'll figure it out. Santanico Pandemonium is the queen and matriarch of a seedy strip club in the Mexican desert. She, like her fellow strippers at the club, is a vampire who preys upon local patrons. So, while the provocative outfits and Salma Hayek's surreal figure might seem tempting, this lap dance could very well be your last. But hey, given the raw sexual energy infused into Hayek's every move in the role, you might not be able to resist her seduction. Word to the wise though, it's probably best to avoid women who wear snakes. Seems like a villainous red flag. Number 3, Xenia Onatopp, GoldenEye.
You don't need the gun, Commander.
That depends on your definition of safe sex.
The James Bond franchise isn't exactly lacking for smoking hot female characters, be they villains, allies, or damsels in distress. But of the many Bond girls who have graced the screen over the years, few have inspired repeat viewings quite like Xenia Onatopp. Played by Famke Janssen, this suggestively named henchwoman takes pleasure in two things: pleasure and murder, preferably at the same time.
How do you take it?
Straight up, with a twist.
She's described as a sadist, and honestly, one look at her is enough to tell you that this dark-haired, sultry beauty has villainous intent. Her preferred method of murder is to crush men between her thighs. We know what you're thinking, but that's not what she has in mind.
I like a woman who enjoys pulling rank.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Bond.
Number 2, Amy Dunn, Gone Girl. Rosamund Pike is no stranger to playing deadly but drop-dead gorgeous women. How about her head-turning performance in Die Another Day?
It was so good of you to bring your gun to bed with us.
As Miranda Frost, she's a force to be reckoned with, be it in bed or with a sword in her hand. But it's Pike's performance in Gone Girl that really earns her a spot on the podium.
Burn it just the right amount. Make sure the cops will find it.
As Amy Dunn, she's utterly captivating. She's not just beautiful, but absolutely magnetic. The sort of woman who everyone at the party wants to talk to. Behind that charming, gorgeous exterior, however, is a master manipulator with a history of destroying lives.
So, Nick, how does it feel to have your wife back?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Catherine Trammell, Basic Instinct.
You know I don't wear any underwear. Don't you, Nick?
We've seen so many female villains on film in the years since this movie came out, and many of them have been far more overtly sexualized than Catherine Trammell. But it takes more than skimpy outfits, provocative framing, and malicious intent to make for an iconic femme fatale. In this erotic thriller, Sharon Stone plays a writer who is carnal in every sense of the word. She's driven by equal parts lust and bloodlust. She oozes dangerous sexuality. Far more than just eye candy, though, Sharon Stone delivers an arresting performance. One that makes Catherine Trammell not just one of the sexiest villains in film history, but among the most iconic psycho killers to ever grace the screen.
What about Roxy? Is she more fun?
Would you like her to join us sometime?
Which female villain would you want as your adversary? Let us know in the comments.
You want this body?
Is this a trick question?
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.